Good morning. Welcome to the Celtic Way Morning Briefing Live. I'm Tony Haggerty. It's Tuesday, December the 13th. Haggerty10 Twitter handle. You know that off by heart now, or if you don't, you should. And I'm joined today by Sean Martin at Sean Martin TCW Twitter handle. Good morning, Sean.
Morning, Tony. How are we?
I'm all right. Yourself? Are you nice and warm now? The heating?
I am. The heating's still working. Although I did get hit with a triple whammy at that point of my car failing its MOT yesterday. So three-figure sum to get that sorted on top of all the heating, Christmas and all that. So
never rains but it pours, as they say, doesn't it?
So that leads us nicely on to subscribe to the Celtic Way.
Indeed. I mean, there's a wonderful segue there, Sean, into the strap line at the bottom. As you can see, there you have it. It's the Merry Christmas deal or festive deal. You can get 25% off the yearly rate, which takes it to £26. And also, if you subscribe, you can enjoy 2 months. No, it's £1 for 2 months of everything that we do right on the website. As you can see, running along the bottom, and all you have to do is hit the button, www.celticway.co.uk/subscribe, so you can get 25% off the yearly rate, which you'll pay £26 for, or £1 for 2 months of full access. Take either deal, it's a good deal, and all you do is hit that button, you see at the bottom there, www.celticway.co.uk/subscribe. We've always got a deal for them, Sean, haven't we?
Certainly do, yeah, certainly do. Christmas special this time. Or as you said, pull your own Christmas cracker.
Pull your own Christmas cracker if you've watched the TikTok video. Yes, indeed. There you have it. Now, Sean, Alistair Johnston checked in yesterday, didn't he?
Yes,
certainly. And he uttered his first words as a Celtic player in the press conference, and he was good value. People seemed to enjoy it, didn't they?
Yeah, aye. I don't know, did anything stand out for you first before I go on? Because my answer's not going to be Celtic related, really. So if you've got a Celtic related part that he answered, then by all means. Because I think he was good value in general, but my standout was a Canada answer, actually.
No, on you go. I'll let you have a pop at that on you.
Well, it was just, as I say, I do think he was good value in general. I think he answered questions really well. I think you can tell that he's been a college athlete because it's a different type of coverage that you get over in North America for a college athlete. They're very experienced dealing with media, not necessarily the broadcasting senior, but certainly they deal with a lot of media. So I think in that sense, you could tell that he's maybe wise beyond his years in that sense, and he might be put up quite often. Might be the Matt O'Reilly, Greg Taylor mould. But what I found most interesting, as I say, wasn't even a Celtic related answer really. It was his explanation of what Canada changed to become more competitive at international level.
Yep.
He referenced his ice hockey background, which if you've read our in-depth scout report, you'll know all about anyway. But he went further this time with a story about what it was like facing Mexico at altitude in the Azteca, or going to Honduras and having your hotel fire alarm pulled to disrupt your preparation and all that kind of stuff. Yep. And he said in response to that, and in response to the kind of reputation that Canadians are too nice and all that kind of thing, they got together and they decided that they would use their homeland to their advantage and play more games in the kind of frozen north in places like Edmonton and different things, but also that they channel some of their ice hockey backgrounds into a more aggressive response. So if any opposition players tried to rough up one of theirs, they would all go. They would all make it an issue. And I like that attitude, and I like that he brought it up. It's first Celtic kind of proper media Q&A. I suppose, Tony, I do wonder, just to get it back to actually talking about Celtic, I do wonder if he'll be asked to tone that kind of attitude down at Celtic, because so far under Ange Postecoglou, I've said a few times that I wonder if he's asked the players not to get involved with opposition in that sense, because it doesn't happen often, even though some of the Celtic players get, let's just call it the treatment, every other week. So I'm curious to see if Alistair Johnston brings that mentality over with him into game situations or not.
Well, I mean, Ange's always said that he encourages players to speak his mind, doesn't he? And a lot of them have. Georgios Giakoumakis being one of them. But no, I like that as well, Sean. To be fair, I thought that was excellent the way he spoke, and as you say, there was a confidence about him, wasn't there? A real air of confidence about him, and Michael Rossi seemed very keen and confident, and and he said all the right things, that he spoke to Wanyama, and Wanyama told him that it's, you've signed for the best club in the world, all that kind of stuff. He was playing a wee bit of Celtic bingo, wasn't he? So ticking along.
He had the Wanyama thing, which I think he knew what the response to that would be, because obviously it was a story that came out a couple of weeks ago, and the Juranovic post-match chat as well. It does him no harm, to be fair, to be praising one of the more popular guys in the dressing room. To be praising him before he comes in, direct competitor for the position or not. I think that was a wise move. And
he also spoke about,
coming in saying, I agree with you that he looked quite confident. He looked quite keen.
He also spoke about the Ange factor as well.
The famous phone call got a mention again,
Yes, indeed, as they all do. And but it was just nice to see a guy who, he just seemed really relaxed and comfortable in his skin, and genuinely delighted and excited and happy to be, signing for a club like Celtic, and just kind of wants to get on with it, doesn't he?
Wombat's coming in directly in response to me saying about the kind of the more aggressive attitude. If Ange will maybe tell him to need to tone that down, we don't really get involved in that way here a lot. Wombat comes in and says, just about to say, Sean, Ange will nip that in the bud. I'm interested to see it, because I've said before, and I realise I can see why Ange Postecoglou would, if he has kind of told people you don't get involved in that way, because it just gives officials an excuse to book you and send you off, and it's true, and it does do that. But there are some instances where I think a kind of almost a show of solidarity is merited, and that's especially when players like Jota, players like virtually any of them really get the treatment.
Yeah, and listen,
Alistair Johnston brings that with him.
I mean, on first glance, and if you're looking at the whole Q&A, I don't think he said anything untoward and out of order.
No, but it's not really about what he's saying. It's more about, as I'm saying, on the park. If he brings that with him in terms of that, I'll protect it, my teammates at all cost attitude and stuff like that, because they don't really indulge in that, Celtic. Which, as I say, I can see the logic for. I would like to see a wee bit more of it, a wee bit more of that edge to their play if somebody's getting the treatment. But
I think maybe he was just letting you know that he was Canadian and ice hockey's big over there.
Maybe.
And I know you're a big basketball man, aren't you, Sean? So, but I think he was maybe just getting a couple.
I like the heat, Tony. Basketball's indoors. That's what it's about.
I think he just got a couple of those references.
It's always indoors as well, to be fair, but
just in case you forgot. But no, I was very impressed with him. A young guy, I thought he spoke very well, and as you say, I think he'll be brought up quite a lot, won't he? Because he seemed as if it was second nature to him, like a lot of guys who come from Canada and America are in handling the media, and it's a big part of their education, isn't it? When they're doing
I think it'll serve him well. I do think it'll serve him well over here. He seemed quite open, seemed quite chirpy, quite happy, which does actually make a difference in a press conference sometimes. If that's the kind of character that people are engaging with, but. I suppose there's a few comments that I do agree with, as much as we're saying he's good value in his press conferences. A couple of comments saying, well, it only really matters what value he brings on the park, which is obviously true, but nonetheless, it's still, it maybe gives you a glimpse into the kind of character that's going into the dressing room in terms of that. So,
but if the glimpse of the forum that he showed at the World Cup are anything to go by, then I think he'll do all right, Sean.
Yeah, I think so. There was more. I mean, we don't want to go through every Q&A that he did yesterday, but he did single out Callum McGregor. He was asked about him, and he says he's met him already, and that he's already sees he's everything that you want from a captain and different things. So that bodes well as well, because there's no option. You need to listen to Callum McGregor, don't you, Tony?
Indeed, yes.
There's a reason that every single Celtic player that does that, this or that, or the teammates thing that the club do, every single one of them pick him as the best trainer. I don't think anybody's picked anyone else yet in the year and a bit since Ange Postecoglou's come.
I think if you're the captain, there is that extra onus and responsibility on you to lead by example. And you only need to look at Scott Brown said it, that he was a big voice in that dressing room. He was a big player. And Kieran Tierney.
Kieran Tierney's the one I remember.
A long time ago, and said he was captain material and he led by example. So Celtic, in terms of the captaincy, are in safe hands, and he is the go-to guy, isn't he? By the sound of it, to a lot of the players, which bodes well, which is excellent. And I mean, I'm actually looking forward to see how Alistair Johnston fits in. He was quite comfortable as well, because he was also asked about playing a an inverted fullback role, and he gave
Yeah.
to that as well, So, he was, as I say, he was quite a confident young man. Just hoping he can take that onto the pitch. And
Andrew Galea is saying he wonders how that confidence will go about getting a chat out of Ange. That's obviously in reference to the well-trodden story. The well-trodden story at this point, Tony. I think it's been used about 6 times in the last year, but it's Ryan McGowan's kind of quotes about sitting next to Ange Postecoglou on the plane surfaced again the last couple of days. So I take it that's what Andrew's referring to. So that confidence might not get a chat out of Ange, but sometimes that's maybe better.
I don't think many of them do they? So
no,
he won't be alone in that. So
and Kevin Crawford just reiterating the McGregor thing, saying he sets the standard, seems to set it in training and in the games, and with the way that they want to play. So, yep.
Now, Michael Ross asked this question, Sean, which is a nice segue into our next topic. So, what is the latest on Magdy? Well, if you were on the website yesterday, you'll have noticed that I put up an update on that, Sean, saying that he's wanted by no less. Well, he's got 6 offers. He's mulling them over, isn't he?
Yes, yep. You progressed that story again, Tony, yesterday. That's the second time with this story you've progressed it. Found out that although the reports that Saudi Arabian side Al Batin are in the running for a loan deal, as you say, he's up to 6 offers to consider, and Celtic aren't explicitly ruled out just yet.
Yeah.
So I pulled the trigger on a Stuart Ross scout report in any case, Tony. That's up there on the site just now. It makes for really, really intriguing reading, in my opinion, because as I said last week, I was kind of excited by the thought of this guy just on what I'd seen and what I'd read, the impact he'd made at Al Ahly. But he offers so much as a technical footballer, and Stuart even points out specifically how useful he would be against some of the SPFL low block tactics. That said, he does say that there's a couple of areas that he would need to show improvement in to seriously kind of challenge for prolonged game time in the Celtic starting 11. So, I, as always, really good in-depth read from Stuart, and I'll put the link in the comments for you.
Indeed, he's also got offers from Holland and Sweden.
Yes,
to mull over, and so this one, I think the Al Batin deal is not certainly done yet. I think they're trying to do what's best for the player, and that'll come out in the fullness of time. But I certainly think it's fair to say that Magdy will be on the move somewhere, Sean, and Glasgow not being ruled out as a destination.
No, I mean, you were saying it was your understanding from talking to someone close to him that the prospect of playing in a Glasgow derby would have been one of the bigger motivators if I moved to Celtic, was to actually firm up any. But as you say, plenty of offers. Michael Ross coming in the comments here, I can see saying, if he does go to Saudi Arabia, does that suggest he's money motivated? I would suggest probably yes, it does. Because he's already playing for the most successful club, in the world, but obviously in Africa. So, yeah, I think if he does go to Saudi Arabia, that is what you can infer from that. If he moves to Europe, it's maybe more about a professional challenge, Tony.
Yeah, I think if you're coming to Europe, you're trying to put yourself on the map, basically, aren't you, in terms of, and further your career, in terms of maybe winning things and being successful. And I know he's with Al Ahly and he's won a couple of Champions Leagues over there, hasn't he? So that's fair enough. But I think
both finals as well, Tony.
What's that? Sorry,
scored in both Champions League finals.
Yeah. So I think he maybe want to make his name in Europe and do something with a club. But again, I think if you're at this point in your career and you are moving to Saudi Arabia, then it does say something about your mentality in terms of what motivates you. And I think if you're going to Saudi Arabia, then I think the commenter's right. You're money motivated, then, aren't you? It's not really about the challenge.
Thing to say, yeah. Although Frank Brennan, good to see you back as well, Frank. But he has made it a fair point, I think, Tony, that we're all money motivated in some shape or form. Unless, of course, you're St. Francis of Assisi and Mother Teresa. But I think there's different levels of it, Tony, isn't there? Like, you're obviously, to earn a living is a different thing from just chasing the big bucks, that kind of thing. You look at Matt O'Reilly, could have easily have sat and got decent money at Fulham to continue his development there, but ultimately would rather have prioritised getting first team game time. That ended up with him not getting any club for a while, training in the Park of the Stad. He moved down a league to go to MK Dons. And then his ability shone through, trusted himself, bet on himself, and he's ended up at Celtic in the Champions League on the fringes of the Denmark squad. So I think there's a difference, although I do agree with what Frank is saying, that to a certain extent everybody is.
Yeah, I guess that to a certain extent is Frank's comment, but I think in terms of football, you really do want to come to Europe and test yourself, don't you? And be a big player, because he is tipped as the next best or the next big Egyptian footballer, isn't he?
Well, yeah, I mean, he's 26, so it's not like he's a rising star or anything, but he's already, as I say, been a standout for Al Ahly, which done it on the bigger stage of the Champions League as well, which is why I'm kind of excited by it. He's made, he literally scored the winning goal in the first one, scored in the second one. They won back-to-back CAF Champions League titles. The fact that he's been playing for a club that, like, how much better prep do you want for Celtic than a club?
Of course,
the world's most successful club, basically, and has to win and compete in every tournament every year. So in that sense, I've been quite intrigued, quite excited if he did come, just to see how he adapted and to see the difference between Celtic and Al Ahly. But
and I was intrigued as well when I spoke to the person who did say. They said to me, because I asked if Scotland was ruled out as a destination, and they said no, because of the challenge in playing in front, playing in a Celtic Rangers match, because it was world famous. And so these are considerations that players actually do take on board. And I guess if he wants a challenge, then it's one of the bigger challenges out there, isn't it? Coming to Celtic under Ange and trying to make Celtic a noise in Europe and dominate domestically for a period. So we'll see what happens, but it's still bubbling away, the Mohamed Magdy deal to possibly Al Batin, but there's another 4 or 5 5 offers then, because I think he said he was mulling over 6, some from Holland and Sweden as well. So it remains an interesting one, Sean, and I think the Celtic fans don't want to get too excited just in case he doesn't come. But when you look at Stuart Ross's scouting report, your own thoughts on him, and people hear that and you speak about him and speak about what he has achieved in his career so far, it's hard not to think he could be a fit for Celtic.
That's the way I'm thinking about it, yeah. And all you can do is, I suppose, wait and see. You've progressed the story twice. Well, the proof will be in the deal that's announced the next few days, you would think. Beach Boy's also making a good point here, which is sometimes when we say you should want to come to Europe, sometimes that is a bit conceited on our part, and saying, like, you need to come to Europe, because you don't. People can carve out not only lucrative but successful careers in Africa, and Al Ahly is obviously one of those clubs. But in this instance, with that Saudi team, they're not exactly. It's not a team that's necessarily competing for all honours. So if he does go to that team, I think it's fair enough what Michael Ross says, that it would be for money. But Beach Boys coming in with a very good point, that it's not from the UK that he'd be moving to Saudi Arabia. He'd be moving from Egypt. So it's less of an upheaval, and maybe more appealing in that way too.
Of course, well, he has gone on record as saying he would have stayed at Al Ahly for the rest of his career in the past. I just think maybe it is economics that's dictating that he has to go, because he now is worth more than maybe Al Ahly can pay him. So and his agents are obviously on board with that and trying to get him a lucrative move somewhere. So it's the player's prerogative to go where he wants and for whatever reason he wants. We can speculate all day, but at the end of the day, it'll be Magdy and his agents that decide ultimately where he goes. I think there's just, as you say, possible excitement at the thought that he might come to Celtic. Just get to see Celtic in the mix and see what happens.
Well, that's it. I think that's a fair enough shout. There's a question here, Tony, that I might actually throw up for you, and it's Andrew Galea. Rank the midfielders first selected down. I'm going to put you on a spot here, but I'm also going to throw this up so that nobody's forgotten, if I can find it. So have a wee think. I know my order, Tony. I don't think I'm kind of setting my order, so it's just more if you've got any.
Well, in terms of rank, what does he mean rank them in terms of the play?
First selected, so first choice to last choice, basically, is what he's saying. I'll put that up quickly.
Yeah, that's our tried and tested 3, which we don't and haven't really deviated from unless forced to this season. I think those 3 are an immovable object, shall I say, in
Mhm.
terms of the midfield, because I just think there's great balance there in the midfield when those three play.
In order, to answer his question, Andrew, in order, I'd say McGregor, O'Reilly, Hatate,
Yeah, I would go with that.
Turnbull, Moy. You can maybe have them.
I would maybe switch Moy and Turnbull.
Maybe have them swapped, yeah. And then it's, I suppose, Abelgard, McCarthy, Edeguchi, but you could have them at a level, because I just don't think any of them are really that close to getting game time just now. But
no, but
and then you've got Haksabanovic you could throw in there as a centre mid, but obviously he plays mostly on the wing.
That triumvirate there is your 1, 2, 3, in my opinion. Also your opinion as well. And I think most Celtic supporters, when they see that midfield three, they feel good. They kind of nod sagely, don't they, and say, "Yep, manager's called the midfield spot on." It's up to those round about them to perform to their high standards. But those three are footballers, Sean. I get it. You can't hide from the fact that, and they function when the three of them play together. They have developed a really good understanding. They're exciting to watch, and Celtic supporters love watching good footballers, don't they? And those three are, when they bring their A game, they're pretty hard to stop, as the manager says on a few times when they bring their A game and they play their brand of football. With those three in the middle of the park, Celtic are hard to stop.
Andrew Galea says his point is that if you buy another midfielder, does Turnbull go down the list? He might do. There might just be more rotation at both of the eights. I'd see, and Stuart Ross also kind of said this, that Magdy would potentially be the O'Reilly backup rather than the one competing with O'Reilly for the minutes at the kind of right sided eight, which is the one that goes more advanced, rather than Hatate, which is where Turnbull tends to come on and play. So it would almost be, you've got two there rather than just either Moy or Turnbull having to kind of switch back and forth and see who replaces who depending on who's available. Because you've got to remember, Matt O'Reilly's been playing out of position for 11 games in a row or something. Well, McGregor said he won't be playing there anymore. He'll be back further forward, you would think.
Yeah, indeed. And listen, I think Turnbull's a smashing footballer. I think he's terrific, but I just think that he's finding it hard to get game time because of the form of those three. Those three are.
I still expect him to get a new deal, though, Tony. I said this at the start of the season. He was one of the pre-season predictions. I predicted he'd get a new deal before the January transfer window. The time's running out for that, right enough. But his contract, it's 2024 still. So I still do think that a new contract for him will be in the works.
And I think
the kind of game time issues.
Yeah, and I think Aaron Moy's for him at the World Cup showed that he can still kick it. And
I mean, I think more importantly, his form with Celtic is showing he can still kick it, because I think with Australia, it's a totally different game you're playing. I as much as I give him his plaudits for being for enjoying a really good World Cup, I don't think you look too much into it from a Celtic perspective just because of the way Australia play. I think his form with Celtic, though, as much as I've said in the power rankings when we discussed them and that it's been up and down, and I think that's a fair comment. It has been up and down. He certainly has offered something, and unlike the likes of McCarthy and Edeguchi, he's been selected.
Yes.
He's been selected. He gets game time. He has played. Ange Postecoglou trusts him, and he has put in some really good performances as well. So, I'd agree with that.
Indeed. But Andrew Galea saying Moy's bulletproof, Sean. There you go.
Expect nothing less from Andrew. Nothing less. I've got one more comment here for Tony before we move on to the fixtures. It kind of comes into the fixtures, I suppose. But Wombat asked, can the new boys play before the window opens? No, they've had to sign insurance forms in it, Tony, to make sure they can train. But in terms of actually playing a competitive game, the registration window doesn't open until the 1st of January. That's when it starts. So,
indeed. Yes. Now, young Aidan had a look at the fixtures, Sean, didn't he? The Celtic Digest piece, and about Celtic's fixtures coming up, starting with Aberdeen on Saturday, Sean. And we're looking forward to that, the return of domestic football. Can't wait for that. But Aidan's had a look at the next 5, not getting too far ahead, but he's just kind of saying it could be season defining. Do you go along with that, Sean?
I think you could say that about any stretch of Celtic fixtures, really, because if you drop points in a few, suddenly it's all right. What's happening here? But no, I take him at face value. I think he's got a point. I think it culminates in that Glasgow derby at Ibrox on January 2nd. Aidan's pointing out if Celtic win all their games, even presuming that Rangers win all their games, Celtic could be getting into that game to go 12 points clear. That's a very big presumption that both teams are going to win every game.
Yeah.
Rangers have got to get used to a new manager. In the meantime, you don't know what effect that will have. It's not a given that it will be a bounce. It could take adjustment period. It could take an adjustment period. Whereas Celtic, there was a tongue-in-cheek comment earlier on. I can't quite find it. As Andrew Galea again, we haven't won a game over the break. Must get back to winning ways. Tongue-in-cheek, obviously, but he isn't wrong. They've lost and drew the friendlies that they've played. But domestically, Tony, apart from that St Mirren game, it's been imperious. It's been flawless, except for that game in Paisley. So the smart money is on Celtic continuing where they left off. I don't think that can be levelled over at Ibrox. You don't know what effect that new manager is going to have. But ultimately, it comes back to what Ange Postecoglou was saying this time last year when it was Celtic that were behind in the race, and that is that you're on your own race. You concentrate on your own points. You concentrate on picking up your own wins, and the rest will take care of itself come May. And right now, Celtic are in a position where if they do that, there is no stopping them.
Indeed, I totally agree with that. But you know, as a stretch of games that come the end of it, culminating the 2nd of January, you'll be in a better place to know how your season or the rest of the season will shape up. You know, the 9-point cushion that they've got is terrific. As you say, Rangers might or may not get a new manager bounce. I think with a new manager coming in, they'll have wanted to play games straight away, and that delay, I mean, it works both ways, doesn't it? He's got time to work with the players, get some shape into them. Then they will hope that form comes after that. But you know, it can go two ways. But Celtic have been ticking along nicely, and domestically, as you say, the St Mirren game apart, then fine. But it's a tricky one to come back to.
It is, yeah.
You know, and
Aidan actually mentions in his piece that I've put the link to in the comments, Aberdeen have got a really good home record this Premiership season. They've won 6 out of 7.
Yeah.
They've also got a striker in Bojan Majowski who is clinical, because Aidan had a nice wee nugget of a stat that although he's netted 11 times, his last 4 goals have come from 4 shots on target in the games. He's not had any shots off target, but he scored. So he doesn't necessarily get that many shots, basically, is what he's saying. But he tends to score when he gets them. So, and I know there's been a break, and that can kind of interrupt form. Yeah. I mean, I know it can interrupt form when there's a break and stuff, but certainly, and Patrick McLaughlin's saying it now, he's dangerous, that Aberdeen striker. So there is a danger there. Pittodrie, although Celtic are good at Pittodrie usually, nonetheless, Aberdeen's record at Pittodrie this year is good. So it is a hard game to come back to, you're right. And even beyond that, the games that they've got, Livingston at home. Now, Livingston at Almondvale's a different prospect, and even that, Postecoglou's kind of banished that ghost well. So Livingston at home's maybe not as difficult as what it otherwise might have been. But St Johnston are resurgent as well, the next game, which is home, so you'd expect it to be decent. Hibs away, Aidan makes the point that a 6-1 win against them the last time in the James Forrest hat-trick, it's unlikely to be quite that kind of game again at Easter Road. They've been, I suppose, out of the 5 opponents, they're the worst, if you want to put it that way, in terms of form, where they are in the league, that kind of thing. And then after that, you go to Ibrox. So it's 5 quite difficult games on paper. But as we say, if Celtic come back in any way like they were before that break, then simply running their own race is good enough.
I think the manager will have them bang at it, Sean. Does always speak about that complacency won't creep in, and they won't stop, and they'll keep being relentless. So I think, whilst I don't think it's by any stretch a given on Saturday, but I still think Celtic will come out the traps, and but it's still a difficult fixture.
Put the Andrew Galea saying the derby is crucial, always is. I'd agree with that. Brown Warrior comes in saying he thinks big wins and easier games, which I presume he means more straightforward games, are more likely with Cal McGregor back in the side than not. I honestly think Matt O'Reilly's done himself a credit replacing Cal McGregor, but I do take Brown Warrior's point here that obviously with McGregor back in the team, you'd naturally expect the performances to be well, I was going to say better, but they won 11 out of 12. Do you know what I mean? So, or won 11 out of 11. What am I saying? We won 11 out of 11 with McGregor out. So, I take his point, Tony, but I do still think that Matt O'Reilly deserves a lot of credit for the way that he played in that role.
I still think if Celtic go into that January the 2nd game 9 points or even more points ahead, depending on what happens with Rangers, then they're in good shape, or they will be in good shape for what's to come. No, the league isn't won, and it's never won in January.
No,
nobody's saying that, but it's just how they both come back and deal with this stretch of games leading up to Ibrox in January the 2nd. And as I say, if Celtic can maintain their 9-point lead or even stretch it, then I think it bodes well.
Yeah, no, I'd agree with that. Patrick McLaughlin just asking, is the St Johnstone game on Christmas Eve an early kick-off? Yes, it is. It's 12:30, I think, Tony.
It is now. It was changed, wasn't it?
Yes, it was changed. It was meant to be 3, I think, and it's 12:30.
Yes, it is indeed. Well, it's half an hour gone already, Shawnee. Unbelievable. Yep. You can't beat it, and we're still waiting excitedly for the football to return. Countdown's on, Sean. What's that? Wednesday, Thursday. Another 3 days to build up.
Not long now. Not long now.
Yes, it's coming back. Okay, I'm going to throw this one at you, Sean.
Yep.
Is your heart going to roll your head? Messi or Juranovic tonight?
Who do I think will win it? I think Argentina are a better team, but they've not actually been playing all that well. I don't think they've kind of been relying on Messi pulling something out the bag, whether it's an assist or a penalty or a goal. But so I wouldn't rule out Croatia. I think as a team, Croatia have been maybe playing a wee bit better, even though obviously the best player on the park's going to be in Argentina's team. But I wouldn't rule out Croatia. They're everybody's favourite underdogs as well. So
there's a kind of clash of romantics here, isn't there? Because everybody wants Messi to maybe bow out on the world stage by getting his hands on the World Cup, but also Luka Modric as well.
Yeah,
I have a soft spot for Luka Modric in Croatia, and then obviously some Celtic supporters will maybe want Croatia to win because of the Juranovic factor. So Michael Ross like to see Messi lift the trophy. So depends what way your romantic heart swings, isn't it, Sean?
I mean, technically, I'm still in the running to get at least one prediction right if Argentina do win it. But I don't know. We'll see. I think the other semi-final, France versus Morocco. If Morocco were to get to the final, then I think a lot of neutrals would be wanting to see them win it. But all things being equal, France getting through. I think whoever wins this semi-final tonight is who most neutrals will want to win the final. Because I think there'll be the Messi factor, or there'll be the Croatia, because everybody likes Modric, everybody likes Croatia as their kind of favourite underdogs. I would quite like it not to be a repeat of the last World Cup final, but I don't know. I don't really like a World Cup final repeating if possible. But
Morocco are the Cinderella Greece Euro 2004 story, aren't they? So,
would it be more impressive than that? I think it probably would be, wouldn't it?
No, it would be. Of course, it would be more impressive. But I'm just talking about an underdog coming.
Cinderella story
in a major tournament. Yeah. So, I think there'll be a lot of neutrals supporting Morocco tomorrow, but I think your heart's split in two tonight, isn't it? Messi and Juranovic.
I'll hopefully get to watch it. Hopefully get the time to watch it. But it's if Juranovic puts in anywhere near the kind of performance that he put in against Brazil, it will be a difficult night for Argentina, to be honest. It was very, very good. Very good. I've seen a couple of comments, and I got a couple of comments on Twitter because I shared a couple of quotes from the BBC broadcast. Alex Scott was quite full of praise for him. And a couple of comments came back saying, why did they not do it against Vinicius Junior? The 2 times Celtic played him. And I was like, fair enough. But at the same time, credit where credit's due. He's done it in a World Cup quarter-final against Brazil.
It doesn't get much higher at that stage, does it, to be honest? But there you go. Well, we'll be back tomorrow with more Celtic chat. Just thought I'd end that there with
fair enough.
Bigging up Juranovic. We wish him well. We wish Messi well as well, because everybody loves Messi, don't they? To the victor, the spoils, as they say, Sean. We'll see what happens. But, guys, just flick it up again. The strapline and our Merry Christmas festive deal. You can get 25% off the yearly rate, which takes it to a wonderful £26. And also, if you subscribe to the Celtic Way, you can enjoy 2 months of free access for £1. Take whatever Christmas cracker deal you want from that. And all you have to do is hit a button. www.celticway.co.uk/subscribe. That's www.celticway.co.uk/subscribe. We thank everybody that's subscribed so far. We enjoy the chat. Thank you, Andrew. We enjoy the interaction every day. We're on here every morning, 10 o'clock-ish. Isn't that right, Sean? 10 o'clock-ish.
10 o'clock-ish, yeah.
Yeah. but we love the banter. We don't take ourselves that seriously, and all we do is talk about the club that everybody loves and follows, and we enjoy it. We hope you guys enjoy it, and we thank you for your subscriptions. And because we couldn't do it without you. We always say that, but built up a wonderful wee community here, and we hope you guys get the best of it as well. Sean, thank you. Contribution first class as always. Appreciate it. Take care.
Cheers, Tony. Cheers, guys.